Gotta be true to yourself. In a world there's nothing else. Gotta play the game right, gotta make your path. You scratch, you dig, you lay in your ground. You bustin' your rounds, nobody gon' stop you. No ops, no cops, everything about you. Looking good, you good, she good. Y'all people really wanna know the reason? It's that ripple effect. That's just that ripple. That's just that ripple effect. What you do, come back triple.
Hey, what's going on? It's your girl KDOT back in Ripple Effect. You know what it is, and you already know the vibes. Yo, it's been a minute. It's been quite some time. I've been doing some things, getting a lot of things done. Man, I'm feeling great. I hope you guys are doing great as well. Exciting things coming. It's football season, right? Basketball, a little over the place right now. My Knicks are still doing well. We still trying to figure it out. So we can't be too hard on them. I know a lot of people are still not taking them seriously. You know what? That's fine. That's fine. That's what the fans are for. We got their back. Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns are both all-stars, you know, starting, right? So we doing something right. So it's like, pump the brakes. I know a lot of people are upset. We could talk about LaMelo. He's a snub, right, as they call it. Then who you taking out? We always want to talk about who got snubbed, and you want to talk about who we taking out, right? Not saying he doesn't belong. I'm not trying to say that. I'm just trying to say who you taking out, you know. And you know he's going to end up being an all-star. He'll just probably be a reserve, right? Man. So much to get into, guys. We're going to be going all over the place, back and forth, because it's just been a minute, and it's just so much we have to get into. And we have to talk about football. Football is at the forefront right now because we're dealing with the playoffs. And the playoffs supersede everything else, even though basketball, as you know, is my first love. But football, we got to get into it. I was rooting for, I had a lot of different teams, right? I have no real horse in the race. I really don't. You already know, from New York, right? Giants. And we already know what a hot mess that is. Super happy for Saquon, though. I'm not one of those people that are bitter. You know, I'm not on some Tiki Barber, you know, even though I think they squashed that. But I'm not on no hate just because no, not at all. We made a stupid decision. He went and got his money, had a historic season. Still mad he didn't break that record. I totally get you want to save yourself, but I have a feeling if they do come up short, not saying they will, even though the Commanders, Jaden Daniels, that defense, but I think they're going to have to revisit that. At least he will. He will sit there and think, man, like you only get but so many opportunities to, you know, make history, like break records. Like we can't take that for granted, thinking that you're going to be there every year, or you're going to be in that position, or you're going to be healthy. You just never know what goes on in this world, so you can't take anything for granted. So my thing is, if you have an opportunity, just go for it. That playing it safe all the time, yes, you want to, you know, be a little careful and kind of, I get it. And Saquon does have a history of injury, so we can't, and football is that type of sport where you definitely want to be mindful. Totally get it. That's why I'm not like tripping off of it. But at the same time, rooting for him. Not saying I hope the Eagles win. Not saying that at all. I kind of want to see the Commanders win, if I'm being completely honest. But like I said, when you don't have a horse in the race, honestly, I just want to see a really good football game. I don't want to see any blowouts. And we got to talk about that Ravens game. Like, if we're going to talk about something, we got to talk about that Ravens game. We have to talk about how we put Lamar on a pedestal, and rightfully so. MVP is a regular season award, so I'm not going to sit here and say because Josh got the better of him in that game, because they won, right, ultimately, that Josh Allen deserves the MVP over Lamar Jackson. Totally don't think that at all. We could just put that aside. Regular season award, Lamar Jackson, 3-time MVP. It's only going to give people more motivation to kind of say, hey, all these MVPs, nothing to really show for it in terms of Super Bowl chips. Once you get into that upper echelon, you know, you start climbing that mountain, you know, they're going to start to want to see those rings. And put things into perspective, Peyton Manning was also treated the same way, right? They used to call him like he's just good for the regular season, because it took him about 7 seasons, and Lamar Jackson's around that. So let's see what he does next season. Not saying we should take it for granted, because it was right there for him, right? You got Derrick Henry. I get it, but sometimes things just don't work out, and Josh Allen did exactly what he was supposed to do, right? And sometimes less is more. he got himself into trouble throwing the ball way too much, or just throwing the ball when he should have just thrown it away, or sometimes it's just making those right decisions. And that's pretty much what he did. And he did kind of, you could say, play it safe or play error free, as they call it, in order to get the job done. And sometimes in the playoffs, that's what you have to do, because like they say, when you turn the ball over, they count for double. And I wouldn't even say that. I know some people say that, but I wouldn't say that personally. What I would say is, when you have multiple turnovers, it's game over. It's game over. When the other team's taking care of the ball and you're giving them opportunities, and it leads to 7 points and it led to 10 points, and Mark Andrews, man, I know it's so easy for us to just go crazy on him, right? And I'm not going to do that. He had costly mistakes. Lamar Jackson had a costly mistake. And yeah, those hurt, man. I mean, or mistakes, they both did. And I mean, can you imagine Likely, like Isaiah Likely, same position, tight end as Mark Andrews? I know he's sitting there thinking like, man, if they would have dropped the play for me, I would have, and it's so easy to say that in that moment. I don't know what it was. It could have been the elements, but man, that dude was so open. I was waiting. I thought it was gonna be an overtime game. When I saw how open Mark Andrews was at the late of the game when Lamar made that, he made that. I think it was that throw to Bateman, right? And Bateman was on fire. Yo, I was like, why didn't they give a play for Bateman? I'm not gonna lie, I didn't really see all the different coverages that were going on at that stage in the game. So he could have been double teamed at that point, because the defense was like, yo, we are not letting this dude, win the game. He was hot early, and he was on fire the whole game, right? So I don't know, but you can't even say none of that, because if a guy's open, he's open. Your expectation that he's gonna catch that ball. And Mark Andrews has played great. When you think about last season, about what he did to get back from that injury, and he got back, and it just wasn't enough, because he was still injured. I mean, you come back from an injury, early, it was just too much pressure, whatever. And now it's just like, and I don't want to sit here and act like the elements that matter. Yeah, it was cold. It was snowing. But man, that's rough. And then he just walks out, no explanation. Everybody's waiting for it. And just a little while ago, I'm hearing that he issued an apology, like saying, I'm sorry, this and that. And man, it happens. I was listening to a lot of professional athletes that played the sport, retired and made their fair share of mistakes, and also had their fair share of, of catching it and it being a totally different story. And they kind of said the same thing, man. I just really wish you would have just confronted everybody right then and there like a man, like just be like, hey, I screwed up. It's on me. Whatever you guys want to ask, what was going through my head. I mean, I think this is kind of going off course, but it's like, I don't know what it is about accountability nowadays, man. Like, I don't know what it is, like, as a whole, like, not just sports, just as a whole, when it comes to life. Just be accountable. Like, nobody's expecting you to be perfect. And if they are, then that's their own issue. Like, nobody is perfect, though, dude. So to sit there and just expect you to be, no, we expect you to be emotional. We expect you to be upset. Lamar did it. Lamar made plenty of mistakes. He owned it. He said he's tired of it. He was cursing. I'm sure he got some fines to go along with that. But at the end of the day, he manned up. He just sat there and just said, yo, I'm tired of this. This is annoying. And obviously, I'm not reading it word for word, because he had some little expletives that, he was going over. And that's cool. Like, because I appreciate that, because at least, like, he's acknowledging and he's owning it. Like, you saw what I saw. Trust me, it hurts more for me than it does for you, which is true. We're in the house all cozied up, watching the game, sitting here getting mad while they, freezing and playing hurt and all this. And, but Mark, man, just do better. Like, not just on the field, but just do better, just being accountable. And that's just not just to him, just people in general. Do better. You mess up, so what? You live to make another mistake another day. Like, not a big issue, but had to bring that up. I really hope this decision gets made about the MVP, and I hope that last game literally had nothing to do with it, because as far as I understand, it's a regular season award, and it should be given to Lamar, regardless of that blunder of an outcome that went on with the Bills. Yeah, so I still can't believe that happened. I was definitely rooting for the Ravens. And I mean, to see the turn of events, because I'm over here like, all right, the Ravens, this is going to be a tough game for them, but I'm rooting for them. And I'm over here looking at this Lions versus Commanders game, and I'm watching everybody just pick the Lions, pick the Lions. Rightfully so. This is supposed to be their year. Regardless with the injuries they had on defense, and also with the running back with Sonic and Knuckles, right? With Gibbs and Montgomery, they went through their fair share of stuff. But then they got him back, but sometimes it's just like a little too late trying to rally guys, trying to get them back into it. And guys, man, I've been watching sports for a long time. And when I mean a long time, we're talking about 30 years. I can't say it's been that long for football, but football is, I've been watching them for a while, and not like the average fan. Like, I'm actually really reading into it, studying it, and more importantly, kind of watching it and listening to people or reading about it with people who really know the game and some people who've played it, different positions, especially from linemen. Oh man, if you really want a nice perspective on football, there's a little aside. Talk to linemen, defensive linemen, offensive linemen. You'll get a whole new perspective of the game, because without them, I mean, I know if you watch football, you probably know that, but some people don't know that, because when they hear some of the comments of like, oh, why didn't he catch this? Why didn't he do that? Why is the quarterback doing? Watch that offensive line. Watch that defensive line. Props to them. Like, they got my respect forever. Always did, but hearing from them firsthand, crazy perspective. But yeah, talking about the Lions and the Commanders. So, as you know, I live in the DMV area now. So, Commanders, I mean, I met a lot of cool people out here. So, I get to go to a lot of, Commanders events, which has been great. And of course, like a couple of years ago, it was kind of like, a lot of fans weren't exactly happy, or they weren't like, how do I say, like inspired or enthused, but they showed up. I'll tell you that. They definitely showed up. They showed out. Unfortunately, their Commanders did not, or the football team, or whatever you want to call it, because we're talking about this just a couple years ago when I first came down here. And to look at everything now, from I was at the draft party, earlier last year, and man, I mean, the excitement, you could just feel it, because, the new ownership, I believe, was with Jay Harris, and you also have Magic that owns a portion of that as well. And it was just different. You just feel the energy. You can feel the culture. Like, there's nothing like that culture. Like, it's just, when you know what it's like when you don't have a culture, and then when you get one, you could really see, like, there's something special about to happen. I'm not going to say I saw this year, but I said something special it's just destined to happen. But when I seen Jaden Daniels, and I was like, yo, this kid's going to be special. He's going to do some special things. He's going to show us some things this year that's going to say, okay, we have a promising future. Like, I'm not trying to say I thought they were going to the playoffs this year. Not doing that. But I have been watching them the last couple of years, and you can see that they were on to something. Like, they were right there. And Terry McLaurin, man, I mean, to be such a talented receiver and not be a diva and be like, I'm gonna take my talents elsewhere because I need a quarterback, I need this, I need that, I need the ball. I mean, to be patient and to understand and to say, you know what, I may not understand now, but later I will. Like, to sit there and really like just have faith without even knowing what's going to happen in the future, not knowing that a guy like Jaden Daniels would turn everything around, not to mention, Dan Quinn coming from the Cowboys, I mean from, it's just crazy when you're just sitting here watching it week to week and you're like, okay. And you're just sitting there just like, is this team for real? Because in the past, the defense has always been great. The defense has always kept those games real close. And I was in the stands, and I actually saw the fans, like how they have their high. I mean, they would be on a high. And then late in the game, you just watch them either turn the ball over. And so when I see a franchise like this become successful and the fans it's so easy to get behind the fans. It's so easy to want to see them win. Like, why wouldn't you not want to see the Commanders win? Nowadays, I'm not really a news person, but I'll flip through the TV and I see nothing but Commanders on. They have a news segments on, on these different channels. I believe Channel 5, they have like these new segments on talking about football, talking about the Commanders. And I'm just like, you go inside the stores around here, Commanders this, Commanders that. People are wearing the gear, the hats. I told you around Christmas time, they have all these ornaments. I was like, I've been here for a couple of years. I have not seen this. Like, this is awesome. Like, it's great to see how a city can really rally and get behind it. And there's all these watch parties at all these bars, lounges. If you're in the DMV area, check it out. They're having a bunch of watch parties. It's crazy. From I believe it's in Alexandria, Maryland. It's all over. So, and they have a lot of Bud Light specials. Just go take advantage of it. Just be around good vibes. If you want to watch the game, you know, so if you don't want to be in your house or whatever the case may be, I'm going to be in my house. It's too cold. But, you know, honestly, I mean, I say all that just to say, I love it. I'm rooting for them. It would be awesome to see them to go all the way to the Super Bowl. It's going to be crazy, them playing the Eagles. It's going to be crazy to see if A.J. Brown's going to get the ball, because you already know he's up there reading, and everybody is. This is how you know, like, I'm going to say this like this. This is how you know some dudes just can't win. So if AJ, right, because you already know he hasn't been getting the ball, right? Because you know the passing game, that hasn't really been up to snuff, especially when you talk to some of these guys from what you're hearing. And then when you just look at their numbers are diminishing. And of course, they don't like that, because when it comes to time to negotiate their contracts, you know, that's what they go by. And not to mention, if you know you're one of the top receivers and you're not being mentioned in those conversations because your numbers just don't say that, it's going to bother you, right? And they've been in the news. Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, right? With the bickering back and forth. And even some of the teammates have been saying, like, listen, it's not the A.J., you know, Brown and Jalen Hurts show. Like, and I totally get that. Like, if you're just on the grind and it's like, yo, this is not a drama. All that other crap can just, you know, we just here to play ball. Let's do what we got to do, get this win and go home, you know? And the fact that he decided, you know what, I'm not going to blow up on the sidelines, throw equipment, yell in this guy's face, make headlines. He's like, I'm going to read a book. I'm going to calm down. I'm going to figure out, even if he's not actually reading the words on that page, if he's actually just sitting there taking a couple deep breaths and just trying to stay engaged and gather himself together, so that way he doesn't blow up and he doesn't lose focus. Because him reading that book shouldn't have distracted nobody. If anything, him reading that book was a sign of maturity, because he figured out that, hey, maybe I need to chill. Maybe I need to calm myself down, just refocus, so that way I can still stay engaged. Because you guys can say what you want, but I can only imagine him sitting there running those routes. And it's cold out there, y'all, right? He's sitting there running all these routes, fighting to get position, and he's just not seeing the ball. So it's just straight cardio. Like, nasty work, bro. Like, that is nasty work. I would be tight, too. I'm over here running around for no reason. I'm over here looking at the plays, in the huddle, doing all these different things, knowing that I'm not going to get the ball, and I'm just going to be running and running and running and running. Yeah. I'm going to be mad, too. Like, so come on. It's like, there's a human element to this that some people just totally miss it. And I don't know if they miss it on purpose or they just don't care or whatever the case may be. But anyway, AJ Brown, if you're watching this, I'm proud of you, bro, because you found another way to transfer that energy and to make it something positive, or at least not to make yourself a distraction to others. Because him blowing up on the sideline, other people got to hold him back, and now they're not mentally locked in because they're sitting there worrying about him. And same thing with coaches and everything, got to worry about separating them. Kudos to him. This is going to be very interesting to see if the passing game is where it should be, or is it going to be an issue, or is it just going to be the Saquon Barkley show, and that's what's going to get it done. I just can't wait to see a good game. That's kind of all I care about. And everybody with the Chiefs, I know nobody wants to see the Chiefs win. I really don't understand, guys. Like, people really do not want to see the Chiefs win. They don't want to see them three-peat. I'm hearing all these calls. I'm hearing the refs. And I have to tell you guys, like, I'm not even going to say, like, all these stats, but just look it up. If you're one of those people who made that argument and saying that the refs have anything to do with the Chiefs, just look it up. I forgot the stats, the exact stats, but when it comes to roughing the passer, I think Patrick Mahomes is like, he's like way down on the list. Like, he's not even, So it's like, so when I hear stuff like that, that's the first thing I do. When people say stuff like that, oh, it's rigged and this and cheaters, and because it's like you hear the same thing over and over again. When there's a dynasty either in its prime, or you could tell when it's getting that momentum, or when people are just kind of just getting tired of them winning, you could tell they're just getting tired, And it's the same thing happening with Brady. It's the same thing you see with Steph Curry and the Warriors. Like, it doesn't even matter what sport. It just translates to either sport. People just really get fatigued when it comes to winning. I get it. Actually, I don't get it. I mean, my thing is, if you do not want them to win, beat them. It's just that simple. Now the Bills have been given that opportunity. Like, this is going to be it. This is Josh Allen's moment. Now, we already know in the past, he takes that moment and he just says, I'm just going to start slinging it all over the field. And you know what? He doesn't need to do that anymore, right? I mean, honestly, I would love to know what Stephon Diggs is thinking right now. I would love to know. Because I'm really wanting to know, did he really think Josh Allen was going to fail when he left? Or did he not just think about that and he just said, I'm just going to do what's best for me? I'm always curious about those things, because a lot of people thought that. A lot of people thought Josh Allen would fail when he doesn't have all these weapons that he's used to having, mainly Stephon Diggs. And now you can see it's not that. And we're not even trying to say the other guys around him are not talented, because obviously look where the Bills are. But they're playing as a team. You're not just worrying about getting the ball to one guy. And you already know Josh Allen, man. He can use his feet. He can do a lot, man. So it's going to be interesting. But if you want to know my picks, I'm not going to make this an extremely long pod, even though already know I can. But if I'm going to give you my picks going into this weekend, and if you don't know, the game starts at 3. Okay, this is 3 o'clock on Sunday. Man. I can't bet against the Chiefs, y'all. I can't. And the worst part about it is I still don't feel like the Chiefs are playing their best ball yet. Like, Patrick Mahomes is not even, I don't even think he's in the Pro Bowl, right? Like, I don't think he's playing his best ball. I really don't. And that's scary. If you're other teams, that's scary. Like, or other teams. If you're the Bills, I'm not going to get. And Andy Reid is so smart and worthy. Fastest dude in the NFL. Yeah, but he's getting better. And you got reliable Kelsey, man. My theory is, I'll tell you what my little theory is. Like, I wasn't going to say nothing, but my theory is if the Chiefs win it all, if they three-peat, I think Travis Kelsey's going to retire and sort of ride off into the sunset, so to speak. Totally believe that. That's what I'm thinking. Now, if they lose to the Bills, I don't know. He's probably going to want another crack at it, because everybody wants to go out on a high note, for sure. Like a Michael Strahan sort of thing. Everybody wants to go out on a high note, and totally get it. Why wouldn't you? But yeah, I'm not gonna bet against the Chiefs. I don't think I'm not at that point. So I'm taking the Chiefs. I'll give you the scores a little later. I'll do a pod later and really give you a real breakdown, because it's gonna be close. This is not gonna be, the Chiefs defense is so good too, and that's so underrated. When you have a quarterback who doesn't make mistakes and who can make those deep passes and make plays, and then you got the defense backing them up too, like that's. But yeah, anyway, yeah. So I have the Chiefs in that game. I'm gonna go with the Commanders. Maybe it is a little bias, just based off of geography. You know what I mean? Maybe it is, But I'm gonna go with the Commanders. Commanders and Chiefs. Let's see. Let's rock out. Like, this is gonna be a fun weekend. I can't wait. I hope you guys are gonna be watching. And as for ball, I mean, basketball thing, we're not going to get into too much, about Brandon Jennings calling Jason Tatum soft. I think that's just ridiculous. Man's averaging like 27-something points a game, and we're going to call him soft. Like, I mean, it's like, if you want to call Jason Tatum that, then it's like, then why don't you call this era that? Why are you just calling Jason Tatum that? Like, I don't know. I think that was just to kind of motivate him, but it's like, yo, Jason Tatum don't need no more motivation. And did y'all miss the point where he actually won it all? I know y'all wanted him to win it all and get the MVP, or y'all wanted him to get some MVP, whether it's of the league or of I don't know. Sometimes it feels like, yeah, they can't win no regardless of what they do. But yeah, I'm not commenting on any of the other stuff that I'm sitting here looking at. But yeah, guys, y'all know I only ask y'all to do one thing. Just remember this: losses equals.
Gotta be true to yourself. In a world, there's nothing else. Gotta play the game right, gotta make your path. You scratch, you dig, you lay in your ground, you bustin' your rounds. Nobody gon' stop you. No ops, no cops, everything about you. Looking good, you good, she good. Y'all people really wanna know the reason. It's that ripple effect. That's just that ripple. That's just that ripple effect. What you do, come back triple.